Hi guys, Shashir here. This module is about Introduction to Shell. We have done a lot of work on the GUI so far. In fact, the biggest benefit of Windows when it was launched by Microsoft in 95 was that it was a GUI interface and you got to use a mouse and you can click on a lot of places in your computer and you didn't have to write a lot of code to get the job done. However, the real admin work is mostly done in shell. Like if you have to do any kind of a serious work in Active Directory or Exchange or the cloud or anywhere else, you will see that it will be highly beneficial to do it on shell. And the reason for that is because when you write some pieces of code, you can re-execute them again and again, and it takes a lot less time to execute them, and the possibility of doing an error is also very less because you can go ahead and write the whole code once, and then you don't have to depend on your ability to double click on a certain places to put certain values manually. Like if you are creating a virtual machine, the size of the hard drive, the size of the RAM, the kind of processor, even if you are doing it in Hyper-V or you are doing in Azure cloud or wherever else, if you are able to do or write all that in a piece of code and then you just re-execute it again and again, that means that you are not going to perform any error while doing this work. So that is why shell is most important. In this module, I want to explain the legacy command prompt and the futuristic PowerShell to you. It is highly important that you understand shell if you want to be successful in your career as infrastructure engineer, because that's where everything is done. So we are going to talk about command prompt. Command prompt is the older shell which used to be there in Windows 98, Windows ME, Windows XP, and it is even there in Windows 10 because they are not able to get rid of it, or in fact people are so used to of using command prompt that it's not probably advisable to Microsoft to get rid of it until people get fully used to PowerShell. But anyways, command prompt is the legacy prompt, and PowerShell is a new console which has been launched since Windows Vista, I reckon, and Windows 2008 server, and PowerShell is where you do most of the things. In fact, whatever GUIs you see today, like whether you're talking about Active Directory and you're creating a brand new user, or whether you are talking about an exchange management shell, and it's possible that you are looking this module straight after desktop troubleshooting, and I might not have touched upon Active Directory and exchange so far in your training, but that's totally okay because you are going to see that in future. So if whenever I mention Active Directory and exchange, just accept those as two words and you're going to learn about them in future. But anyways, what I'm trying to say is that whatever you do in GUI, it actually in the backend happens on shell, whether you are doing it in Azure cloud or whether you are doing it on Active Directory, whether you are doing it on SQL, whether you are doing it on Exchange. All Microsoft components, the underlying level is PowerShell now since Windows 2008, and it is getting more and more PowerShell based in future. So it's very important that you understand shell. Here is what we are going to cover in this module. We are going to talk about what is command prompt, which is the legacy shell. Then we are going to talk about the various commands and tricks which you can do in command prompt. We are going to talk about what is PowerShell, and then what are PowerShell modules, and then we will finally talk about some PowerShell scripting. So let's get started. What is command prompt? Command prompt, or how we refer it as cmd.exe in Windows, is the default command line interpreter of OS2, Ecom Station, Arca OS, and Microsoft Windows and React OS operating system. Honestly speaking, I have heard the name of OS2, Ecom Station, Arca OS, and never of React OS before, but for me, it's command prompt is available in Microsoft Windows. That's what matters to me. The name refers to an executable file name. It is also commonly referred to as CMD or command prompt, referring to the default Windows title on Windows. Okay, so I'll quickly try to launch command prompt for you and show you how do I do that. So this is my Azure Windows machine, and the run window is very important. And the run has been lost earlier in earlier version of Windows. The run used to be right here, but now the Windows Start menu has been changed. So what you can do is you can right click on the Start button, and that's where you get run. And this is how we launch command prompt. So start run cmd. You will also find command prompt if you go ahead and write here, maybe. Yep. So you find it here, and whenever you do it like this, it's best that you do right click run as administrator, because working on Windows, and if you're trying to do anything on command prompt, like any troubleshooting, which we'll most likely be doing, it's always important that you run the command prompt as run as administrator, because by default Windows has something which is called as user account control, UAC, which prevents any kind of administrative action on the computer with the administrative credentials. You might have seen it in your computer as well, and the reason for that is that if there is a virus which is trying to run an executable on your computer and it's trying to change certain files on configurations or whatever on your computer, then it will prompt that virus for password as well. And of course the virus won't have the password and would not be able to execute the corruptions which it is trying to put in your computer. So that's called as USC. And this is where you change the UAC settings, user account control. And see, these are the various settings which are available for UAC. On my computer, I always bring it down to never notify, which basically means that stop using UAC. But on a standard computer, it will be here or even here, which means that you won't be able to do much of the things directly from the command prompt if it is not launched in administrative user perspective. It has been launched as admin here, but the right thing to do is always, whenever you are launching command prompt, is right click and run as administrator. Okay, another trick for you would be that always pin the command prompt to your taskbar. So you can say pin it to start and then pin it to taskbar. So now it will always remain here. Even if I will close it, it will remain here, and I can always do like this, run as administrator. Got it? So that's what your command prompt is. Let's go back to the training and see what next. Tips and tricks for command prompt. So there are various commands, and the list is very specific to the job which you are trying to do. However, in IT support, I believe ping, ipconfig, netstat are the key commands. So there are a lot of things which you can do from command prompt, and when I say a lot of things, that's actually dependent on the kind of work which you are trying to do. If you are just a user on this computer, you can still do a lot of things from command prompt. Like, let's say that you want to create a folder inside this. So what you can do is, and you are just a user on this computer, not an administrator or maybe like a technical user. You are just a end user of this computer, but you want to make a folder. So what you can see is folder, let's say I'll give it a name, Shishir folder. Okay, so what happened there was, and I'll take you to see users. Now this, I'm using a an environmental variable to enter into the user profile folder. Okay, it didn't understand that because certain things can only run from the run window here. Okay, so what I'm doing here is that on your command prompt, if you go ahead and write start and then after that you write any command, that's equivalent of going to run and writing the command there. Okay, so the user profile open, and under Azure user I created this folder just now. Okay, now let's say I want to delete this folder, so I will say del share folder, and this folder should be deleted. It's not deleted because maybe I don't have the right. Alright, so I created this folder. Now let's say I want to go ahead and remove this folder. So earlier I was trying to use the command del shusher folder. It used to ask me, but it was not deleting the folder. Now I'm just trying to tell you that with this example particularly, that it's not important to remember everything because you can always go ahead and Google stuff. So what I did, I went ahead and Googled this thing, that how can I delete a folder from command prompt. But because this is not something which I do every day, I'm just trying to show you the automation which you can do from command prompt. So it told me that I have to use the rmdir command. Okay, so rmdir shusher folder. Sorry. And the folder got deleted from here. So these are the things which you do with command prompt, and sometimes it becomes very easy for you to do the things directly from command prompt rather than going here and creating and going ahead and manually going ahead and creating a lot of folders and files, etc. Imagine that you have to create hundreds of folder into different profile paths. So what you can do is that you can just go ahead and write all the commands in a, let's say, notepad file, and you can say make directory shusher folder, make directory sam folder, make directory Damian folder. And you could be creating this at different locations on your computer. So you can give a whole path of the stuff where you want to create this folder. So maybe you want to create it under here, and then what you can do is that you can save this file as a batch file. I'm going to save it here, create, and you can name it anything. Okay, folder dot bat, and you put it in double quotes here. Otherwise, it's going to take the extension of .txt. So you save it. So this create folder.bat got created here. Now what you do is that you go ahead and execute this batch file. See, it created shusher folder, it created sam folder, and it also should have created, if it got the correct permissions, a folder here, a Damian folder. So how quickly I was able to do that. And imagine if you have to create 20 folders in different locations. Doing it from the shell is a lot more convenient. And that's what makes a shell awesomely powerful. Now, depending on, going back to the training, depending on what your job is, there could be different kind of commands which you should remember. Like I forgot about remove directory because I don't do those things every day. But I use ping, I use ipconfig, I use netstat. And then there are some tricks which you can do with command prompt. And these are some of the commands which you should always remember. I just want to show you those. So let's say that you are on command prompt and you are running so many commands and you want to go back to a command. What you can do is you can do up arrow and it will show you the last command which was run. And you can keep doing that. And suppose you have done a lot of commands, you don't want to rewrite the command, you can just use up and down arrow to go back to the commands. Another trick is that you can click F7 and it shows you the whole history of commands, and you can actually scroll up and down and execute any particular command. So I'm trying to do shusher folder again, but it says that the folder already exists. So it gave errored out, but basically I didn't have to write the command again. And then when you are tired of the whole thing and you just want to start from fresh because your screen has got very dirty, you can go ahead and say CLS and it cleans your screen. Another thing that you can do is that all the commands which are available have a help built into them. So any command which you're trying to run and you're not able to run it, you can do /? And it tells you what this command does. And then what are the switches with it? So one of the command which we use a lot, that's ping. So let's say you want to find out how ping works. So you put / and then you put ? And then it tells you a lot about the command. And then the switches which are available in it. So switches are the various options with which you can use the command, and you can read here the meaning of each switch and how you want to use them. And then further, of course, if you're not able to find out exactly the correct way to run the command, you can always Google it. Because if you start with the right frame of mind, you know how to Google it. You know the right direction, the right words which you have to write. And then the smartness of Google is that if you even give it 20% correct information, it will start giving you some more information, and then you can fine tune your queries and you can read more, understand more. So that's ping command. Let me show you what does ping do. So ping is a command which we use to reach out to other machines on the network to see if they're alive or not. So I'm going to go ahead and do a ping 4.2.2.2. Okay, by default it's going to ping it 4 times and it's going to give me a response. Let's say I want to keep pinging it constantly. So I use the switch -t, which basically says keep going. Until I'm going to interrupt it, it's going to keep going. What I does in a lot of troubleshooting scenarios where users sometimes complain that they are having a slow internet connection. If you notice, what I have done here is I'm pinging 4.2.2, which is a public DNS server. So the response time which we are getting here and the consistency of the packets which we are getting here, if there is no drop, that means that our internet is working very good. So when the users come to me and they complain that my internet is working slow or there is some problem with a particular website and it's not working correct, what I do is that I open a command prompt window on their computer and I minimize it like this, and I ask them to work, and then I ask them that the next time a website is taking a lot of time or if it's not working, then just go back to this command prompt window and tell me if you're getting request timed out there. Let me show you how does a request timed out looks. So I'm just going to ping an IP address which doesn't exist. Okay, that IP exists, so I'm sorry. Let me go ahead and change to something else. Yeah, so that IP doesn't exist. So I'm getting request timed out. So as soon as their internet is going to break, they will start getting request timed out. And this means that we can conclusively tell them there is an internet issue which is going on. And let's say that their website gets slow again, and then they come back here and they see, no, the ping response are going absolutely 100% fine, which means the problem is with the website. The problem is not with the internet. So these are the kind of things which you can use to do the troubleshooting. And that's why you should know about the shell. The other command which is very useful is ipconfig. So you want to know what is the IP address of your computer. ipconfig is the quickest way to find it. Then there is another command which is called as netstat. Sorry. Remember I told you that there are a lot of ports on your computer. The ports are like the people who are living inside a hotel room. So this is your computer, which is equivalent to a hotel room, and then these are the people's name which are inside that hotel room. So you want to see what all people are active right now. So the port 3389 is active because I have RDP'd into this computer. So that's active. Then there is these port numbers which are active, and maybe you don't know what these port numbers are for, and it's difficult to find it out. So these are the switches which are available with this netstat command, and let's see what does that do. So now look at the output is looking entirely different. So it's telling me that port 135 is running RPC SS service and it is SVC host. Port 445, it cannot obtain the information. Port 3389 is terminal services. Port 5040 is CDP SVC service. So I would also not know the name of certain of these services, because it's always possible that there is a third party application, a new latest program which you downloaded from Adobe or any computer, any software provider is running on this computer and using a particular port number. So it's not important that you understand um, the meaning of each and every service, but when you are in doubt, what you will do is you will go ahead and Google the name of this thing. See, there will be situations where you will need to know what service is running on what port. And the command like netstart can help you understand those things. So this is one of the command which you can use. Now, I really like this article which shows about various commands which an Windows administrator should know of. So I will go ahead and open this article. It talks about the 21 commands which all users should know of. So there is a file association of the files. So, you know, you have to let your computer know what file is going to be opened with which software. So by default it knows always, but sometimes these association gets broken. So like there is a txt, like there is a .bat file. This is a .bat file, and remember I told you right now it's not showing any extension because the folder options says that hide extension of the known file system. So you go ahead and remove this, and suddenly there is the extension of the file is available. It's a batch file .bat. This is a CSV file. Now, how does the computer know that this is a batch file? That means it needs to be opened in command prompt, or this is a txt file, so this needs to be opened in notepad. This is a CSV file, so this needs to be opened in Excel. How does the computer know? Well, there is something which is called as a file association, which is present in your control panel, and you can sometimes you will see issues where there is a CSV file but it is unable to open in Excel. It doesn't know in which application you have to open it. Although there is always an option that you can say right click and then you can go open with, and then you can suggest which application it should open with, or you can also choose like this and then you can put a tick and you can say always open with this application. So in future it will associate CSV with Excel, but that association actually happens somewhere in the background. This is an easy way to do it. Now sometimes you would need this command to fix the file associations. Okay, I haven't used this command a lot, but yeah, I'm sure there will be situations where you can use this. File compare. So you have got two text files and you want to compare the content in them. You can need to do these things when you are comparing some batch files or some registry files or something like that. So you can use file compare. And this is going to compare the text between two files. Let's say that you have got two text files which have got thousands of words in both of them, and you're looking at them and they look alike, and there is one word which is different between them which is causing an issue. And you can use FC file compare for that. ipconfig, I just showed it to you. You can look at your IP addresses. And subnet mask and default gateway, we have done that before. Netstat, I already showed it to you. It can show you your network statistics. Ping, I showed you, you use ping, they are pinging google.com to get responses back and to see if the network resource is alive or not. Traceroute is an excellent command, I'll show you. So let's say that you are trying to reach to a network resource and you want to see that what all hops your request is going through. Like when I'm pinging 4.2.2, it's not that my machine is straight away going to 4.2.2 server and getting the responses from there. It will be bouncing between multiple servers between my computer and 4.2. So if I want to find out what those servers are, I can do 4.2.2 traceroute. And what traceroute is going to do, it's trying to give me the IP addresses which are in between me and 4.2.2. So it wasn't able to find the first IP address because that first IP address blocked ping request on it. It is forwarding my request, but it is not revealing its identity. And in cases of trace route, there will be a lot of situations. Now that I'm going on a public route, there is always going to be a situation where most of the hops are not going to reveal their identity. But I didn't have any other machine in this network. But if you go ahead and do it on your local network, you will see that you will see the exact route which a ping request takes from your computer to the destination computer. So that's what a trace route is. And it is going to hop over 30 hops. We'll come back to it. See, here it is telling you. So it tried to trace route to google.com, and this is one of the IP, this is one of the IP. Then there is this nobelsville.in.indiana.comcast. So it might be, Comcast is an internet service provider in US. So it'll be a Comcast router which is in between. Then it's telling you exactly how much time each request is taking. So this way, if you find that there is one particular hop which is taking a lot of time, that could be the reason that your internet is working slow, or a request to a particular hop is very slow. So a trace route is a good command which you should know. Power configuration is a good command which you should know. You can fix your power settings using this of your computer. Shutdown. I have used this command a lot. So let's say you want to shut down your computer. You can also do shutdown or restart. So let me show you. So shut down /? So there are all these options which are available with shutdown command. So if you do /I, it basically gives you a GUI window to shut down your computer, or even to shut down a remote computer. In this window, you can add a remote computer name and you can restart it from here. /L, shutdown /L. This just logs off the computer. It doesn't shut it down. Or /R, it's going to shut down the computer and restart it. It's not going to leave it there. So shutdown is a good command which you sometimes need to troubleshoot your computer. There is a T switch as well, I reckon, with which we used to set the time for after how much time it's going to shut down. So I would do, say, around shut down -R, that means restart the computer, minus T is equals to 30. So it's going to take 30 seconds to restart the computer. And then there is another command which is A, which is for abort, shutdown. Yeah. So within that 30 seconds, I can do shutdown /A and it will abort the system shutdown. So this is the shutdown command. You can get the system information. What is your processor? What is the build version of your computer? And like if you are working remotely with a user and you want to find out what his PC is, whether it's a Dell or an HP, or how much RAM is there and how much memory is there, what kind of processor is there. So you can just ask him to go to command prompt, start run command prompt, and go system info. And from this single page, he can read all this information to you. System file checker. This is an amazing command. So sometimes what happens is that your computer has got a lot of operating system files which are inside this C Windows folders, C Windows System 32, System 32. And all these files are very important for the functioning of your Windows. Now, for some reason, your Windows got broken, or certain parts of your Windows are not behaving in a way they should be behaving. So one of the easiest thing which you can do is you can go ahead and do a system file checker, SFC, and then I think it's scan now. Yeah, SFC scan now. You can run this command, and what's this going to do is it's going to verify each and every file on your computer with the default configuration of Windows, and if there is a problem with any one of the file, it's going to repair it, or at least it's going to try to repair it. So it's a very valid troubleshooting tool which you can use when there is a problem with your computer, or it is behaving random or sporadic, or there is some inconsistent result from your Windows. So you can always do SFC scan now, and it takes a lot of time. So funny story about it, when we used to be in MS, when I used to be in MS, we used to have servers which were behaving weirdly, or sometimes not even behaving weirdly, and we were just tired of troubleshooting something, and we got bored, and or I had to leave. I had, for whatever reason. So what we used to do at that time, we used to go ahead and start SFC scan now. So this is like a paracetamol which you give to a patient just to fix his fever or something, like a low problem drug. So good thing is that it's going to take a lot of time. So as soon as it starts, I'm off the hook. I'll tell the customer, let it run, and tomorrow we are going to catch up again and see what's the result of this. Sometimes it used to fix the issue. Other times I used to simply buy the time to do some more research, or to go home, or to go to the party wherever I was getting late to, and just move on for the time being. So that's one of the trick up your sleeve. It's a good command. When it is actually needed, then there is nothing else which will fix the computer. So SFC scan now fixes it. So that's a command which you should know of. Then net use. So if you want to map drive on your computer, one of the option to map drive is yeah. So in Windows they keep changing these options, but yeah. Mm, add a network location or map network drive. That's from GUI. But if you want to map the drive directly from command prompt, you can use the command net use, and you can tell the drive letter, and then you can tell the network path where you want to which you want to set as your network drive, and this will go ahead and add your network drive, and it has got all those switches, etc. If you need to provide the username and password, you will go ahead and, I don't have a share right now available, otherwise I would have showed you how to use the net use drive. So the network path was not found. So this is one of the commands which you should know of. Okay, check disk. If there is a bad sector on your hard drive, remember your hard drive is broken into multiple sectors, small sectors. So if one of those sectors have gone bad, it's very much possible that when you will try to write data on this drive, it's not going to function, or it will behave sporadically, or your computer may shut down at abruptly because suddenly your reader, the header of the hard drive, came on a sector which is unreadable or which is broken, and you want to check your disk. So check disk is a command which you can run to fix your hard drive. It's going to look into disk errors and bad sectors, and it is going to mark the sectors bad, so that next time onwards no data is written over them and the drive header never comes to that location. So check disk is one command which you should know. Schedule task is a very good command. So Windows has a very good feature which is called as schedule task, and now it is called as task schedulers. You can go ahead and set up a whole task for something to happen at a particular time. In fact, a lot of Windows systems uses this to create their backend tasks. So Google Update has created a task itself, or what you can do is you can go here, create task, and you can name it anything which is meaningful to you, and then you can say under which user credential this task need to run, and then trigger. So you can say what is trigger. So trigger could be time based, trigger could be a condition based, like one time a day, daily, weekly. So begin the task on a schedule at a log on. Whenever the computer logs on, you can do this at startup or on idle, or whenever the computer is idle. So maybe you want to start defragmenting the hard disk. So whenever your computer is idle, you can create a task to start the stuff. So on a schedule, I'll say once a week or weekly, you do this, and whatever, this is the task. Okay. Every Sunday it's going to happen, and this is enabled from this date onwards. And action. Now tell me what you want to do. So you will say start a program, and or send an email or display a message, whatever you want to do. And you say start a program. What is the program which you want to start? So you look here, and let's say you want to say notepad.exe if it can find it. Yeah. So start notepad.exe, and you go ahead and you created a task. Conditions, you can further fine tune it. Go into schedule task, read about schedule task. This is a very interesting topic. You can create task schedules like this, and you created a task and you now say run. It is always going to run on a scheduled time, and then here you can see the history of the task, when was the last time it ran and all those things, saying the task has not run yet. So it opened this notepad file for us, the task. So that's what is this schedule task. Now you can do the schedule task from this window, or you can go ahead and do the schedule task from command prompt. So for that you have got sch task, and you can say sch task, schedule task create, then you tell the schedule of it, then you tell what exactly action it has to take. So you can do all those things from command prompt. It's a lot of fun to do it from command prompt. In fact, sometimes it is more convenient to do it from command prompt. If you want to change file attributes, that can be done from command prompt. So there is a lot of things which you can do from command prompt. Now, based on your situation, you will run into, you will Google, or you will find out a particular way you have to run the commands, but shell is the king. That's what you need to remember. Okay, let's go back to the training. PowerShell. So, command prompt is the old age thing. PowerShell is the new age thing. What is PowerShell? PowerShell is a task automation and configuration management framework from Microsoft, consisting of a command line shell and the associated scripting language. I found this article perfect to explain PowerShell. So let's go ahead and have a look. What is PowerShell in Windows? To give you a better understanding of PowerShell, we should first define what is a shell. We already discussed about it. Command shell is a shell. Now, we are not talking about a turtle shell. In computer science, a shell is a user interface that gives you access to various services of an operating system, like command prompted. A shell can be a command line based, or it can include graphical user interface as well. Windows PowerShell is a shell initially developed by Microsoft for the purpose of task automation and configuration management. PowerShell is now an open source project. So Microsoft has made PowerShell an open source project. That means even other service provider can use PowerShell. It can be installed on Windows, Macintosh operating system, and Linux operating system. The shell is based on .NET framework, and it includes command line shell and a scripting language. The first version of PowerShell was released in November 2006 for Windows XP. Oh, I didn't know that because I saw it with Windows Vista. So yeah, it came with Windows Vista. Maybe it was available for Windows XP as well. The latest version of PowerShell is 5.1. I'm sure it's an outdated article. There could be a newer version as well. It is available everywhere. What can you do with PowerShell? Microsoft designed Windows PowerShell as a tool to help you automate and quickly solve a lot of tedious administration tasks. You can use PowerShell to display all the USB devices installed on a computer. It can even work on multiple computers in a network. So from your PC, you can run commands to do tasks remotely. PowerShell versus PowerShell ISC. So PowerShell is the PowerShell window, ISC is the integrated scripting environment. And what is integrated scripting environment? I'll show you. Basically, when you're writing a script in PowerShell, a script is a bunch of commands written together, then the integrated scripting environment gives you a place where you can write the script and quickly test them. It is like if you have done any C++ programming or VB programming and .NET programming, there is a compiler for all these programs. There is a place where you go ahead and write these things. And if you remember, when you write in that particular compiler, then if you do any error message, if you do any error while writing the code, it shows in different colors. So in integrated scripting environment, just becomes a bit convenient to write the scripts. Where do you, so you should go ahead and read this article completely. I'll just go ahead and show you quickly the PowerShell. So I'll go ahead and close the command prompt and this window, and how you launch PowerShell. So you can say PowerShell, and you will see there is Windows PowerShell, there is the integrated scripting environment, and there is a 32-bit PowerShell as well. If you remember, x86 means 32-bit, and it is clearly denoted as x86 now because 32-bit computing is almost gone. Everything is 64-bit now. So if there is a 32-bit program that needs to be run through the 32-bit architecture, and that's why you have a 32-bit PowerShell available, but you hardly use it. You'll use Windows PowerShell in most cases, and you will always do run as admin for the reasons which I mentioned before. And this is the integrated scripting environment. If you want to use that, again, 32-bit scripting environment and 86-bit PowerShell. How does PowerShell look? Well, it looks like command prompt, it's just that it's blue. And how does the ISE looks? So integrated scripting environment is a little bigger, and so it's giving you all the helps which are available, all the commands are available. So you can do a lot of, like, it provides you a bit of a help environment, but in most cases you can do PowerShell from here. Okay, and in standard PowerShell, a lot of commands from command prompt will be available, like ipconfig will be available, ping will be available. In fact, I think all command prompt command are by default built into PowerShell as well. So you really don't have to open the command prompt window anymore. From the PowerShell window, you can do PowerShell stuff as well as the command prompt stuff. Okay, so I just showed you how to launch PowerShell. I told you about PowerShell integrating scripting environment. I also told you that PowerShell can use the command prompt command like ipconfig, clear screen. So let's see if CLS works. Yes, CLS also works, so you can clean the screen. And let's talk about the PowerShell. How does the PowerShell actually work? PowerShell is the combination, the command in PowerShell is a combination of verb hyphen noun philosophy. So a standard command in PowerShell would be like get help. Okay, so get is the verb and help is the noun. You want help, it's giving you help. Another thing which you can do is get command. Now these are all the commands which are available currently in this PowerShell window, and those are way too many commands. So if you look at all these commands, there is a verb, unblock, file, a noun, test, wsman, start, verb, process, start, hyphen, noun, service. So there is a verb hyphen noun philosophy which goes in PowerShell. Okay. Now it might seem very difficult to you to understand, oh my god, there are so many commands. How can I remember all these commands? How would I do all these commands? The good thing is nobody remembers all these commands. You do your work based on either Google search, or there is a very easy way to find the commands which could be of use to you. The good thing is that when you read the name of a command, you can kind of get an idea what that command is about. let's say that I have to create users on this computer. So how I will find the command? What I can do is get command. This is one of the command which I have to remember, which is get command. Then I say user. So asterisk user asterisk, which means that any command which begins with anything and ends with anything, just give me if it has user. So it gave me just these many commands. So now I'm looking at, oh, get Azure AD user. Do I want to get user? No, I want to add user. So either new Azure AD user, I can create AD user, or new Azure AD user app role assignment. Between these two commands, it is fairly common sense to say that new Azure AD user is going to create an Azure AD user account. Set Azure AD user. So this way you can find enable local user. So it's going to enable a local user. Let's say a local user is a user on this computer. So basically lusrmgr.msc local users. So maybe you want to create a local user. So enable local user. It doesn't look to me that enable local user is going to create a local user, because it should be either new local user or add local user. So I have got set local user and I have got enable local user. So let me go ahead and make it easy, and let me make the command asterisk local asterisk. So it gave me anything that contains local, set local user, new local user. Okay, so new local user seems to be the command with which I can create a new local user. Now the next question is that how do I use this new local user command, because that's the only thing which I know of. Well, easy peasy. Get help. These are the two commands which you have to remember. Get command and get help. And then you need to have some common sense to think of the possible commands which you want to do. How did I start? I wanted to create a user. I just said anything which contains the user. It gave me those 20 commands. From here I picked up local or local user, and then I went ahead and searched for local, and here I found new local user command. So now I want to know how does new local user work. So what I'll do is get help new local user. So I need help with the command new local user. One more thing which I want to tell you is that whenever I type on PowerShell window, I go ahead and let's say I will go ahead and type this, and then I will hit the tab on my computer keyboard. What it does is that it brings up the commands which are possible. New local group, new local user. If I would have gone a bit ahead and typed all this, then it would have brought the local user only. The point is that when you keep tapping, when you get in a practice of tapping after writing everything, then that gives you a confirmation that you are writing the right command. Because if I write new xxs whatever, I have no clues. If I hit tab here, that's not going to fix. That means I'm doing something wrong. So I'm getting a validation of my command when I'm typing here. So new local, not group, another tab, local user. Now I've got three options to get help. One option is I can just go ahead and hit enter, and it gives me the help about it. And this is about create local user account. This is the syntax of the command. This is the description of the command, whatever. Now the other help example, and it's actually given here, remarks here. So if I want to see how does the command actually looks, so I'll go ahead and say examples. Now it's giving me example. This is the example command. New local user, name user02, description, the description of this account, no password. And this is going to do this. And then it tells that this command creates a local user account that does not specify account expire or password parameters. Therefore, the account doesn't expire or have a password by default. Then there is an example 2. It tells me how to store the password in a variable password and then use that password to create a user with that password. So this goes ahead and does this. So let's go ahead and I will go ahead and create a new user with a password. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy and paste this. Okay, now it is asking me a password. I go ahead and give it the password, whatever I want. Okay, now this user is not created, just that this password is stored in this variable. Now I will go ahead and copy this. So the way to copy it is that you select anything and then you hit enter on your keyboard, okay? Or even if you right click after selecting, this will get copied. And then you right click again here to paste it. And this is a description of the, I can write whatever description created by Shishir to be deleted. Okay. User's name is third user, or I can write anything. Rob mate. That's the name of the user. And what is the user principal name or login name for the user is user03, or I can say Rob M. I went ahead and did this. Now I'm creating a new local user, Rob M. His password is going to be password. His full name is going to be Rob Mate, and this is the description. And I hit enter. Okay, so it said that it is unable to create the user because the value provided for password does not meet the complexity requirement. So there is a password policy. If you're not aware of password policy yet, when we will do group policies in the Active Directory module, I would have shown you what password policies are. Password policy as a crux is a policy which is set on your computer to make sure that users choose a complicated password and not a simple password like 1234, which I did. So I was not able to create this user because of a wrong password. I'm going to set up a new password which is hopefully a bit complicated. So I did that, and now I'm using up arrows and down arrows to bring my command, guys. So once again, I'm not going to change anything. I just recorded a new password. I'm going to say create user, and the user got created. If I go here and you see, this user got created. Imagine that you have to create 100 users. It would have been so difficult if you have to do right click, new user, right click, new user, right click, new user. Whereas here, it was so easy to create all these user accounts. And you don't even have to write these things again and again. Ideally, what you can do is that you can create, let's say I will open an Excel sheet. And let's say name, UPN, password. Let's say you have to create 20 users, and user is, I'm just going to give them username as user1, user2, because I don't remember 20 names, okay? User3, user4, user5, okay? And then you have to give it a password. So you go ahead and set whatever password you want to give. So you say Windows 340 %, okay, and you go ahead and give the same password to all the users, or you want to give different password to all the users, okay, and you then go ahead and let's say their login name is also same, so I'm just going to copy it here. And I'm going to, so these are 5 or 6 users. You can create this list as 100 users or whatever, and then you go ahead list.csv. Once again, put it in double quotes because otherwise it will save it as xlist. Alright, you got your list. Now what you can do is, I'm just writing a bit of a code, and you get used to doing these things when you become more proficient with PowerShell. So what I'll do is, first of all, I need to import the list. So I will do import -csv, and I will just say import this list. Ta-da! I didn't have to write the path. I just dragged it over here and it wrote the path. Okay, what happened there? The whole CSV sheet import CSV. That's not correct. Let me look. Yeah, there is some problem with the sheet. Okay, so I'm going to save it as without double quotes. I'm going to save it properly as .csv sheet, and I will go ahead and save this .csv. Replace it, and I say this. Let's see what happens. Yeah, it opened properly this time. So I'm going to import the CSV sheet once again. The command is here, and I can use the up and down arrow, remember? And I imported it. Let's look at the content. Yep, so it imported the whole sheet here. Okay, the screen has got very dirty. I'll do CLS. And once again, validating my CSV has everything. Now what I can do is, I can probably go ahead and write a bit of a code. For each, it's a loop, okay? Now let me get the command first. So this is how we create the users. That's the command for the user, okay? I'm just opening a notepad so that I can write some kind of a code here. Now, some of the things you have to remember, like you will get a hang of the for loops, etc. once you get a hold of this. So what's exactly happened is Excel sheet has been imported in this variable. So what I'm going to do is, basically what I mean is, for each user in CSV. So each row is a user. So for each row in that CSV, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to copy this command and I'm going to write it like this. Okay, so this command is here. So what I'm just trying to write for each $user in $CSV. CSV is the Excel sheet. So what we are going to do is, for each of this user, create a new user with the name. What's going to be the name of that user? Let's look. So the first sheet is name. So the name of this user is going to be, for each row, $user.name. The password also needs to be stored as a secured string first, remember? So this is the command which we use to do it. So read host Okay, so for some technical reason, it may not actually take this, but anyways, I'll try. User, and what is the variable name for the password? It's password. So for each user.password, store it as secure string. Let's see if it works. And then what do you do? Create a new local user with username, password is equals to password, full name is equals to, once again, or this is UPN, and this is $user.name. Description, I can remove that, it's not important. Or I can, if I want to write the same description, or I can have the description mentioned in that Excel sheet and I can pick that up from there as well. The point is, I will go ahead and say created by script. So the same description will get added to all the users, okay? Now I do this and I end this. So I got this command. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to simply paste it there. So I got the Excel sheet is already imported. I'm going to say this: for each user, you go ahead and let's see what happens. Okay, it's not taking the password using that method, and I'll have to Google actually how to do that. So what I'm going to do is I am going to create all the users without a password. So I've removed the password switch, and I am going to remove this line as well to store the password. Let's see. Password is important, so I have to find a way without password, and the help told me how to create user without password. So new local user examples. New local user, user2 description, hyphen no password. So hyphen no password is the switch which I have to use to ensure that these users can be created without password. Once again, hit tab. When you hit tab and it gets completed, that means you're doing it right. Okay, fine. 5 users got created. Look. Now, it may sound too complicated to you, and you might be saying that I could have created the 5 users in this given amount of time. I wasn't prepared to do this. I just thought of it on the fly, and then I started to write the things, and I did it. B, maybe you could have created 5 users, but what if I would have asked you to create 5,000 users in Azure Active Directory or in Active Directory? Once again, if you have not done the Azure Active Directory and Active Directory so far in the training, you are going to do it in the future. But the point is that you have to do this task repetitively, lot number of times. There is a grand possibility that you will do some error while performing the task manually. So with this method, you just created everything and you just imported everything from an Excel list, and you did that. All these users got created. You would have also got the password right. So I don't remember the syntax, how I can do this, how I will have to store the password into a secure string, because when you're trying to write everything in code, sometimes you have to do a lot of Googling, and you can go ahead and Google the script to create local users, and I'm quite sure that you will find something. So that's how the PowerShell for loop worked, and you were able to create the user accounts. So I told you about the get command, which is the most important command. Then I told you about the help. How do you get the help? I also wanted to show you the help which you got. So you have got examples. The other option which you have is detailed. So detailed contains examples as well as the meaning of everything. You can read this. And then there is third option, path, category, component, I don't know, role, detailed, full, example. So there are a lot of switch. In most cases, I use example, and in example, you get the drift of how you have to do this. Okay. Uh, you can also use PowerShell to get information. So let's say that you want to get a list of all the users on this computer. So you say get local users. Once again, you could have, let's say you want to find the groups. It gave you the list of all the groups. And let's say you want to get the groups, but you also want to export it in an Excel sheet. You want it as a proper output. So what can you do is export hyphen CSV. Last time we did import hyphen CSV. You can do export hyphen CSV, and you're exporting all the information, and you say the groups, name it whatever, groups.csv, and then you say no type information, no cobbler, no type information. So you know what, I'll do it without this, but Even without this, it's not bad. So, okay, now a group.csv got created, and remember, start is the equivalent of doing anything on the run window. So if you are on a shell, instead of going to run, you can always say start and then start writing the command. So user profile, and this is where this is C users, Azure user is the user profile of the user, and this is where this file got created. So if we want to access the file, why it didn't take the environment variable, percentage user profile percentage. Okay, I'm not sure. I'll still go ahead and open it from here. It should have taken it, but I don't know why it didn't work. So yep. So that's group.csv. The CSV list got created. Look at this. You got the description, you got the name of the groups, you got the SSID, you got a loads of information. These were 21 groups. It took you 3 seconds to get the list. What if there were 150 groups and you had to manually get all this information? You will most definitely create or cause some kind of an error if you're trying to do these things manually. PowerShell made it easy for you. Let's say you want to get a list of users. So you say get local user. Always use tab. Okay? And you get all this information. Now let's say that there is more information about a user which you want to get. So it is showing the most commonly used attributes, but then there is more attributes for this user. So what I'm going to do is I'll show you that. So we will go ahead and say get local user, and let's say Azure user. So I'm telling it specifically which user which I want. It gave me this. Now I want to look at all the attributes of the Azure user. So I put a pipe sign. This pipe is on the slash backslash key on your keyboard. This is a pipe symbol, and you put pipe and then you say FAL, format list. So these are all the attributes. This is the description, this is if it is enabled or not, this is when the password is going to be changed, when is the password going to expire, password required or not, the SSID, sorry, the security identifier of the user, the principal source, the object class. So you get all these. So let's say that you want specific information of all these users. So for get local user is not giving you the password last set date, and that's what you want to get. So what you will do is you can say select. Maybe you just need 3 information. You need name, you need password. Let's say you need both of the password, both of the one which is starting from password. So I'll put asterisk, and then you need SID. Okay, you need these 3 information for all the users. It gave you all the password attributes. If you wanted a specific password attribute, you shouldn't have written password asterisk. You could have written a particular password, and it gave you SID. Now, maybe you didn't like it this way. So you just wanted password last set, and also you wanted it in a table format. So what you can do is, instead of writing select, you write FT, and it gave you all the information in a table format. Guys, the point is that it is limitless. You can do anything which you can do physically by clicking on GUI on PowerShell, and then a lot more than that. It's a limitless thing. So you have to get used to PowerShell, and you have to start doing a lot of things in PowerShell. Whether it is getting the information, whether it is creating a user, whether it is changing something for a user, and you have to you can pretty much rely on 2 things, which is get command and get. Okay, so it's giving you all the commands. Okay, slog. Okay, and the second one, get help. With these 2, and especially examples, you can find any command that you want and you can run anything, pretty much everything which you want to do. So I told you format text, I give you format list, which was FL, FT, and I told you export.csv. I also showed you how to use import.csv. So this was PowerShell. Now what are PowerShell modules? A module is a package that contains PowerShell commands such as command lists, providers, functions, workflows, variable, aliases. People who receive modules can add commands and modules to their PowerShell session and use them just like built-in commands. The topic explains how to use PowerShell modules. Now what are PowerShell modules? By default, I'm just going to close everything. So I don't know how many of you have done C, C++ programming, but whenever you used to start the C program, you used to write something like this: hash include conaio dot h, hash include, I don't know, there was another library which was required for the C in and C out, but I have forgotten. Basically, these used to be the libraries which used to contain the commands which you were going to use the program. Because without referring to a particular library which knows what the command means, you can't use the commands. Similarly, in PowerShell, by default, when you install any Windows, you get a plain vanilla PowerShell. Now, this plain vanilla PowerShell may have some basic Windows command built into it. But then there are so many other components in your environment. There is Exchange in your environment. There is Active Directory in your environment. There is Azure Active Directory in your environment. Or there is the Azure Cloud in your environment. There is SQL in your environment. So is this PowerShell window supposed to know all the commands which are relevant to all those things? Well, it can know, but you are unnecessarily, maybe this is an end user computer and he would never ever need to know the SQL commands or Exchange commands. Why do you want to put all that information on his computer and make his computer unnecessarily busy or have a lot of number of files? So what happens is that the plain vanilla PowerShell doesn't know all those things. If you want to do those things, you have to include those modules on your PowerShell. So the method to do that is you do install module and then you specify the path of the module which you want to install, or you can, I think, also do, there is command like, so once again I'll do get command and then I will do module. So there are commands available for modules. So you have find module that you have got installed, get installed modules. Let's find out what is, I want to see what all are the installed modules on this computer. You also have got, okay, so an additional module which I have installed on this computer is Azure Active Directory module, because I do a lot of Azure Active Directory tasks from this computer as well. So you have got new module if you want to write your own module. If you want to remove a module from your computer, let's say if I want to remove this module, I'm giving this computer to a user who should not be having this module, and I can do remove module. So these are the various modules. Now I'll show you one more thing here. So Microsoft Exchange Online PowerShell module. What I could have done was I could have downloaded the module and installed it here. Instead, what I did, I went ahead and downloaded Exchange Online, which is Office 365 module from Office 365, and installed it on my computer. And now what I can do is I can run this Exchange Online module anytime, and I can do connect EXO, and by the way, it exactly tells you what to do here. Session, and now it is going to ask me to sign into Office 365, and I'm going to do that. So it's signing into Office 365, and it is downloading the commands, etc. from there. I have my Office 365 now here, so I can do all the things. Get user. It gives me the list of all the users. Internal users, external users, user mailboxes. Get get, or maybe I can do, I want to see what commands are available. Get command user. So it will tell me what all user command are available to me. I can do this get linked user. I don't know what this get linked user is, or get user photo, or new mail user. And let's say, okay, I want to create a mail user. Let's find out what this mail user do. So I do get help new mail user, and then I do examples. Okay. This command get mailbox configuration. Let's see, get mailbox. I'm trying to do get mailbox here. This is my old administrative window. In this module, the Exchange module is not loaded, Exchange Online. So as you can see, the get mailbox doesn't work here. Whereas if I go ahead and do it here, I got get mailbox. Because this has the correct module. So similarly, for anything, if I want to do get Azure AD user, you can't do that because I am not connected to Azure AD yet. Connect Azure AD. What will this do? This will once again ask me to sign into my Office 365 or Microsoft Azure Active Directory account. And then I can log in, and then I can call Azure Active Directory users. So similarly, if you have got local Exchange installed on your computer, you will get an Exchange shell. This shell is nothing different. It's just that the module is preloaded into it. You can load all these modules in your default PowerShell window as well. But it's just convenient. For the sake of convenience, all these people, when they build their application, whether it is SQL or whether it is Exchange, they go ahead and add the specific shell for that application with that application. And those shells are available to you for launching and doing your job. I will try to show you those. Now this is one of our environment, and it has Exchange installed at this location. So what I can show you is that there is an Exchange shell. This has Exchange 2016 installed on it, and it has got this specific Exchange management shell. If I go ahead and look at Windows PowerShell, there is standard Windows PowerShell available, integrated scripting environment available, but still there is an Exchange shell in it. It's just that if you launch this Exchange shell, all the Exchange related modules are pre-populated into it, and you will be able to do all your Exchange related activities from here. However, if you launch this shell, you might have to import module or add module for Exchange for the Exchange commands to work. So you can use any one of these shells. But all Windows installation, whether it is, or rather Microsoft installation, whether it is SQL or whether it is SharePoint or whether it is Exchange, all of them have their own shell installed along with the installation of the service which you have installed, whether it is SQL or Exchange. Now these are some of the modules which you should be aware of. There is an Active Directory module which gets installed automatically on the computer which you make as your domain controller. Once again, if you haven't made your first domain controller yet, you are going to make it in the future. And there will not be a specific Active Directory module. You can use Windows PowerShell to run Active Directory related services once Active Directory is installed on that server. Then there is an Azure Active Directory module which you need to do install module, and you can actually go ahead and Google and try to find out how to install Azure AD module or PowerShell or whatever. So if you Google it, you will find various articles which will tell you how to get Azure AD module installed on your computer. And honestly speaking, I do it for every new thing for which I have to work, and then I forget about it. How do I do it? But this information is so easy to find that you can find out and you can install Azure AD module. In fact, what Microsoft has now done is there is all these PowerShell libraries which are available online, and this PowerShell window basically on the fly can download the modules from there and install it on your computer. So it's very convenient. Anyway, so you should install Azure AD module. I already showed you Exchange module. Then there is an Exchange Online module which is available. So if you go into the Setup tab, if you go to your Office 365 Administrative panel, I will probably go here. So I will go the easy way. Sorry, portal dot or maybe admin.microsoft.com. And I'm just going to log into my Office 365 account, and I will launch this. So yeah, once you reach this admin panel here, there is this online module which is available. You can just say configure, and I think you have to do it from Internet Explorer for this to work properly. Let's see. So yeah, maybe you can do it from here as well. If it doesn't work from here, then open the same panel in Internet Explorer, and then it will work. But I think it's not working for me because I already have it installed. So you can just download the Exchange Online module from here. So that's easy peasy. Now that's your Exchange Online module, and similarly, you have got a SharePoint Online module and SharePoint module as well, which you can download and install on your computer. And if you have to do any activity regarding SharePoint, then you can do that. All right. Those are all the modules for general modules which you should be aware of, and then of course all the different applications which are there for Office 365, they will bring their own module, and you will have to do the similar kind of task there. But the bottom line is that get command and get help will work everywhere. As long as you have the correct module, you can just find your command and you can just find the example and you can execute your command. Next topic is PowerShell scripting. I already gave you a sneak peek into it with my little script, but what is PowerShell scripting? PowerShell is a cross-platform task automation and configuration management framework consistent of a command line shell and scripting language. Unlike most shells, which accept and return text, PowerShell is built on top of .NET Common Language Runtime and accept and returns. I know. So you basically go ahead and write a bunch of stuff. In layman terms, PowerShell scripting is a bunch of PowerShell commands written in a notepad file and saved as a PS1 file so that they can be executed together. As a result, they can automate some tasks. Like any programming language, PowerShell scripting supports the for loop and the conditions. So I already showed you here. What you do for PowerShell scripting is that you start to write some command, and then let's say we wrote the command to create the users and for loop, etc. So you can go ahead and say password equals to read host. Now this is where the integrated scripting environment is easier, because you can it gives you kind of a help here to write your script. Okay, so you can go ahead and start writing a script here, and let's say password equals to read hyphen host. So it's telling you the help, and then you say as secure string. So then you say new local, it's giving you the help, okay, new local user, and then you say, let's say the management asks you to create a script to create users, so you also ask for username. user read host, enter username, enter password. I think I should get the username first. So I'll do this. I will move this here. I'll move this here. And okay, so we have got the username and password. Now we go ahead and write the user. So new local user, that's the variable which I have used. And description is equals to, let's say that I want to take the description as well. So I'll say I can name this anything, okay? So I'll just go ahead and say DESC equals to read hyphen host and enter description for the user, okay? So new user description is this variable, and then password is equals to $password. So you went ahead and wrote a script to create user account. Now you want to test it. Enter username. I will say John Doe. Okay, I will also open LUSR here. Okay, enter username. Yeah, the username is going to be John Doe. Enter password. Now that's the next screen as secure string. So I will put the password. It took the password. Enter the description of the user. New user created with test script. That's it. John Doe got created and you made your first script. What you can do is you can go ahead and save it on the desktop and you can name it create user.ps1. Okay, now get rid of the scripting environment and you launch. You can close it. You go ahead and you run your script. Okay, so this is an unsigned script. You just created it on a notepad file, and there is something which is called as a signed script and unsigned script. This, any Windows environment by default doesn't allow you to run unsigned scripts. You see here, running of script is disabled on this system because this could very well be a virus. So what I'm going to do is set execution policy, and I'll say unsigned. Okay, so I have to change the execution policy, and let me find the help for it. Get help, set execution policy, and let me look at examples. These are the examples of the execution policy, and I have to set it to, it used to be something like unsigned. I'm not able to find that. Set execution policy. So let me go ahead and get the detailed help for the commands to find out what are the possible options for the set execution policy, the parameters. all signed, undefined, unrestricted. So I think it's unrestricted now. So unrestricted. Yes to all. Okay. So now I have set the execution policy to unrestricted. Let's see if my command runs now. Yeah. So I will do a clean screen so that we can start it. So once again, I've set the execution policy to unrestricted now. Okay, new user. Sure. 101. Password. Windows for. I'm writing some random password here, never going to use this user. Description. I created this user for whatever reason. Delete it. Okay. Okay, description got a little too big and didn't accept it. So, Shashir 007 and password. Description, delete me. Okay, fine. The user got created. Now, just imagine a situation that there could be thousand more things which you might have to do. Like, uh, you might have to create hundreds of users, or you might have to get the information of hundreds of users, or there could be a long list of tasks which you have to do, and you can write all that in a script and save it as a PS1. And I already showed you the for loop which are available. There is also the if and else conditions which are available. So you can use the if condition. So you get local user. There is a where yeah, so these are some of the syntax which you have to remember. So if I go ahead and do get local user, it's going to show me all the users. But I'm saying that only look for the user where the description or where the name contains user one. So I'm not getting the syntax right, but all these are the things which you can go ahead and Google and learn. With the time, you become more and more proficient. The important thing is that you understand that there is PowerShell, and then you can do more stuff with it. Okay? Closure note, this is not the end of PowerShell. The purpose of this module was to explain PowerShell to you and show you how every Windows component is built over it. PowerShell helps admins every day to achieve the task. It's best that you always learn the shell equivalent of whatever you know in GUI. If you want to be successful, then you better start using PowerShell to do all the admin tasks. There is a lot more to learn, but there is nothing better than practice. In most cases, all the help that you need to figure out is available directly in PowerShell console. That is the get help and get command. And other than that, just Google the command which you are looking for, or Google the problem which you are trying to solve, and you will find various articles and various people who have the same problem, and they will go ahead and help you, uh, give you at least a head start. And in a lot of cases, you'll find a complete script which you can use to achieve your task. Here's your action items for this module. Look at various tasks which you have done so far and find out how you can do them with PowerShell, like create users or whatever. Here onwards, whatever you do, try to look for PowerShell equivalent command of what you're trying to do from GUI and try to use that. Practice PowerShell import and export using import CSV and export CSV. And do the conditional PowerShell and for loop of the PowerShell. I think I kind of skipped the conditional here, but there is a if statement which is available in PowerShell, and you can define the if commands. If this happens, then do this. Like any program, if the password contains these many characters, or if the number is greater than this, you can basically write whatever comes in your mind with PowerShell. And the better you become with PowerShell, the more things you are going to learn. So that's it. Practice PowerShell, become more proficient in it, and you're going to enjoy it. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next module soon.